I recently discovered that the children I have been raising for the past 8 years are not biologically mine. My wife and I dated through high school and college, got married at 24, and now are going through a divorce. I found out about the paternity discrepancy last week, thanks to an ancestry DNA test that I underwent discreetly. My wife was vehemently against the idea of the test, which raised suspicion, leading me to take matters into my own hands. This revelation has left me feeling shocked and betrayed. I am seeking advice on how best to navigate this difficult situation with my children's best interests in mind. They discovered the identity of their biological father and located him to a house approximately 20 blocks away from my own residence. Strikingly, we share similarities in both appearance and personality, a fact that makes it difficult for me to even look at my reflection now. Upon this revelation, I decided to move in with a friend and have limited communication with my soon-to-be ex-wife. I'm preparing myself mentally before serving her with divorce papers. My primary concern at the moment is how to handle the situation with the twins, as they are the innocent parties in this ordeal. It pains me to look at them, knowing what I do now. I find it challenging to continue in my role as their father. They have been expressing deep concern for me, but hearing their voices brings me to tears. I am struggling with the idea that they are not biologically mine and am uncertain about how to navigate this situation. Additionally, the biological father, who was unaware of the twins' existence until I contacted him, wishes to be involved in their lives. He was surprised to learn about my soon-to-be ex-wife's marital status at the time of their affair. There is no reason to doubt his words. Many of you have inquired about my soon-to-be ex-wife's reaction to this situation. I will address that in a separate post tomorrow. It has taken me all night to muster the courage to write this post. It is now almost 7 in the morning where I am. As for the top advice prior to the update, deliberate parental deception should be considered a punishable offense. It is truly astonishing that there are no legal consequences for women who engage in such deceitful behavior. In a fair world, she would owe you a substantial amount of compensation. I recommend taking some time away to collect yourself. You are absolutely right in acknowledging that the children are also victims in this situation. They should not be punished for having a deceitful and unfaithful mother. Hopefully, in time, you will be able to re-enter their lives. They will need your support to navigate the difficult circumstances that your soon-to-be ex-wife has created. As a woman, I believe such scenarios can and should be prevented. I'd advocate for mandatory paternity tests at birth for establishing the father. If done universally, it's not an insult to request. The vast majority of honest women have nothing to fear. Hey buddy, I'd apologize for the chaos she caused. There's a possibility that my oldest daughter is not my biological child. I discovered a note in my ex-girlfriend's purse that read, "I waited 10 years for you. I can wait another 10. It took me a while to piece it together. When my ex and I were young, she was about to turn 16. Who would talk about waiting 10 years twice? I realized it was aimed at her child, not me. I confronted her, but she neither admitted nor denied it. I'm scared to seek the truth as it could shatter my daughter's world and redefine everything. I just can't bring myself to do it. Even after 2 decades, I still harbor immense resentment towards her. There's a tiny part of me that wishes I never uncovered the truth. Honestly, everything seemed to align to ensure I found out, from lockdowns to unlikely circumstances. Really, it turns out that all parties involved have done those ancestry kits. That random desire to do it. By all means, I should have never found out, but I did. And now that whole family has to pay for that woman's actions. Did she own up to this? I would have a proper DNA test. I wouldn't just go based on that, as I've been told they shouldn't be done for that purpose. I would not cut them out. You're all they have known as dad. A dad isn't made by bio, but by the way he is as a father. You don't have to stop being their dad. You love them as your own, and they love you as dad. She assumed I had given up and was blindsided by my discovery. I will get a proper DNA test done. I wasn't aware the DNA kit wasn't enough. And now for the update. I had to make a separate post due to how many people made sure to give me support and advice. I thank each and every one of you, and though I didn't respond to all of them, I read everyone and am grateful for them. I looked into both attorneys and therapists that could help me with my situation. I was able to find a potential lawyer recently and have scheduled an interview for tomorrow. I'm also actively searching for a suitable therapist. There is a misconception that I am afraid of my soon-to-be ex-wife, but that is not the case. I am choosing to maintain distance to protect myself emotionally rather than out of fear. I am concerned about how my mental health struggles may impact my twin daughters, as I want to shield them from any distress. This is why I have temporarily moved out until I receive counseling. I informed the twins that I am on a work trip to explain my absence. Reconciliation with my ex-wife is not on the table, and I will follow advice to get tested for STDs. Note: the twins are both girls. I wish to make it clear that I prefer referring to them as my twins instead of my daughters. On another note, my girlfriend cheated on me. To elaborate further, the child I believed was mine is not biologically related to me. Despite the advice I received to continue being in the child's life as a father figure, I find it difficult to even look at the child now. To sum it up, my ex-girlfriend deceived me into believing that the child was mine for nearly 2 years. Recent revelations from our social circle suggested her infidelity during the time of conception. Confronting her led to her confession that the child was fathered by another man. I want to move past this ordeal as much as possible. I have already left our shared apartment, planning to fulfill my lease obligations for the next 4 months. After that, I intend to sever ties with my ex and her acquaintances. Importantly, I do not wish to maintain any involvement in the child's life moving forward. Even some of my friends and family, who consoled me when I found out, think I have a responsibility to go on being his father. It's not like I blame the kid for how he was conceived, but ever since I found out the truth, it feels like every happy memory I've had for the last 2 years is poisoned. I can't look at him without feeling like a stupid, gullible schmuck, and I feel sick and angry when I think of the thousands of dollars I've spent on him so far. Money I could have saved for a car and a mortgage, which I gladly spent on what I thought was going to be my wife and our child. I'm willing to spend every last penny I have on attorney's fees to see what my options are to disentangle myself from this relationship, or at least to limit the bleeding. When I told my ex about this, she begged not to go through with it. But as awful as it sounds, I just don't feel any love for this kid anymore. Like a light clicked off in my head. I told her to get the biological father to be his dad, but she says that the individual in question is unreliable and lacks the capacity to provide both emotional and financial support for a child. This has led me to question why the responsibility should fall on me. The decision to have a child with this person was made by the mother, so why should I be burdened with the consequences? I find myself without support in this situation, even from my own parents who are understandably upset about not having their expected first grandchild. However, they are not the ones who will ultimately bear the financial responsibility for this child. The concern arises that should I meet a suitable partner in the future and wish to create a family of my own, will I be required to continue supporting another man's child, thereby diverting resources and attention away from my own biological children? Although the legal aspects of disentangling myself from this situation remain unclear, is it unreasonable for me to desire this level of separation? As for advice, those who advocate for caring for the child and not abandoning them should be reminded that they too can step up and provide the support if they feel compelled to do so. They are just as connected to the child as I am. This is a challenging situation that requires careful consideration and difficult decisions. Sure, but true. You aren't his dad. You aren't obligated to be in his life. He has no obligation, but OP needs to find out if the state/country he lives in views it differently. Some places will make a non-biological father pay. The state's family court can order a non-biological parent to pay child support in certain situations. The person will need to be viewed as a legal or equitable parent, which it sounds like he may have been under the law's definition. If viewed as such, especially if he is on the birth certificate, OP should probably head over to her/legal advice and consider getting a lawyer if they live in one of those places. You are not crazy at all. He's still young, and while toddlers have some personality, he hasn't really come into the age where he has his own thoughts, feelings, beliefs, etc., so it makes sense that you really don't love him anymore. I raised a kid for about a year. No chance was mine. He was about 4 months old when I met his mom. After we broke up, some friends think. He'd urged me to stay in his life, but why? Eventually, his mom was going to move on. Why should I be playing pretend dad? You're in the same situation. Getting out of paying child support is going to be a battle. I'm not sure how hard. I think that's going to depend on a lot. Absolutely find a lawyer for a consultation at the least. He's almost certainly on the hook for child support unless the bio father is willing to take over paying. Found out my twins aren't mine. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be in my son's life anymore? My ex-wife and I got divorced 2 years ago and have a son, 5, together. Our child has a dark complexion and brown eyes, even though my wife and I are both very pale and have blue eyes. It was a bit surprising for me, but I never really gave the idea that this child was not my own any serious consideration. Flash forward to 3 years after our child is born, and my wife and I get divorced. Our divorce was unpleasant, but all things considered, not nearly as B. There was no infidelity or irredeemable mistake by either party. Just two individuals who no longer wish to be together. We share custody, but my son primarily resides with my ex-wife and her boyfriend. As my son has grown older, his appearance has drastically changed, no longer resembling me. I trusted my ex-wife and didn't think much of it. However, during a visit a few weekends ago, I jokingly commented to my ex-wife about how different we looked, and she tearfully confessed that our son might not be biologically mine. Shocked and devastated, I listened as she revealed the truth of her affair with her current boyfriend during our attempts to conceive. I left her home feeling sick to my stomach, questioning if I can face her or see my son again. I am overwhelmed with feelings of emasculation and betrayal. My ex-wife is insisting that I continue being a part of this family despite all the deceit. She has called me a deadbeat for leaving after she revealed the truth, criticizing me for not staying to raise my son. Despite her actions, she believes I am at fault. I understand that my son is not to blame, and I still care deeply about his well-being. However, I struggle with the idea of being a father to a child who is not biologically mine, especially when his biological father is present in his life. I feel like an unnecessary presence in this situation and do not wish to endure any more humiliation. Am I wrong for refusing to parent a child who is not mine own? It is worth mentioning that I intend to conduct a formal DNA test before making any final decisions. But I am not ready to discuss this matter with my ex-wife yet. She is convinced her boyfriend is the father, not me. In the meantime, I am maintaining my distance. Despite my feelings towards them, I acknowledge that the child is safe and loved by my ex-wife and her boyfriend. I'm sorry to hear that you are going through this difficult situation. If circumstances were different, our conversation would be very different. Child support is a topic that many people are discussing, but I'm not currently worried about it as my wife and I both have stable, well-paying jobs to provide for our child's financial security regardless of what happens. As for the top comments, many are saying not the a-hole. It's important to carefully consider your options after taking the DNA test. If the test is positive, remember that genetic variations can result in children looking different from their parents, such as eye color differences. If the child is not yours, it's crucial to think about what you want moving forward. You have no obligation to the child in this situation, and you are not at fault. Your ex must bear responsibility, as she was aware of the possibility that the child may not be yours and chose not to disclose this information. No matter what decision you make, please remember that the child is not to blame. Regarding the situation with the child, if you decide to say goodbye to them, it's important not to just disappear abruptly without any explanation. This could be very upsetting for the child. It may be better to spend some time with the child and try to explain the situation as best as you can before parting ways for good. The mention of eye color in the previous comment was intended as a general example, as genetics can be complex and children might not always inherit all the same features as their